When I was in elementary school, to save money, my mom and I shared socks. As you can imagine, an adult woman has slightly larger feet than a literal child. I had enough room to put both feet in there. Pull it up like a sleeping bag. Teacher says, "Timothy, what are you doing?" I say, "I'm setting up camp." Even worse, she only had crew cut, the ones that come up over your calf. But that's too itchy. I got sensitive leg hairs, you know? My little guys need to breathe. Problem is, I'm 7 years old. I'm unemployed. My credit is terrible. I can't afford new socks. So I did the only thing I could. I scrunched them down. But that polyester's not going anywhere. It bunched up thick, like it was mad at me. It looked like I was smuggling a fabric store in my shoes. A full-on Joann's in my Vans. I looked like I was wearing ankle warmers. Nobody's seen those since the 80s. I was like a time traveler, getting ready to jazzercise. We also saved money by not getting too many haircuts. Back when I had hair, it was thick, strong, voluptuous. We'd only get it cut once or twice a year, but at that point, it's not really about fashion, it's more like shearing a woolly animal. If you don't get clipped at least once a year, it'll get in your eyes, you'll overheat in the sun, you're vulnerable to predators. So my mom took me to Supercuts. The lady walked me back to her chair and asked what kind of haircut I wanted. In that moment, I had two problems. One, I was scared because an adult had just asked me a question, and to this day, I do not know how to cope with that situation. And two, at that point in my life, I had yet to accumulate much hair-related knowledge. I only knew the name of one hairstyle. It was like I had only unlocked a single dialogue option. My fashion level was too low, so I gave the only answer I was prepared to give. I asked for a bowl cut. I can't decide if that stylist is pure evil or the funniest woman alive, because she didn't question it once. That lady got to work. I came back to the waiting area looking like Vector from Despicable Me. My mom was stunned. There must be some mistake. What have you done to my boy? I was also unprepared for this situation. Would fixing my mistake cost extra? I couldn't risk that. No, mother, I told her. I wanted this. I never made good choices when it came to my hair as a kid. For some reason, I thought a middle part was a good idea. I'm sure some people can pull that off. If you're a K-pop star, go nuts. But when I was 8, I was not also a world-famous Korean singer. And at this rate, I may never be. I'm Jay Hopeless. I looked like discount Matt Damon from the 90s. Bad Will Hunting. They say symmetry is beautiful, but I guess they are a bunch of liars, because somehow I still ended up stuck at the bottom of the social ladder. No, it's okay, you guys go on up. I'll just stay down here in my bowl cut and clown socks. I looked like that every day for years, and honestly, I feel so betrayed. My friends, my family, my teachers, every single one of them stabbed me in the back. That whole time, not a single one made fun of me. It took me years to be properly ashamed of myself, but if even one of my teachers had the courage to bully me, or the decency to do it in front of the whole class, that would have made such an important difference in my life. If there are any teachers in the audience, please remember that your students are counting on you. If you don't tell them how ugly their tiny bodies are, who will? I could have been spared from what may be the most embarrassing fashion choice of all time. When I was in high school, my friends were the types of people to run track, play soccer, do parkour. Running was at the center of it all, which was perfect for me. As luck would have it, puberty had just decided to stretch my legs out like a couple of Laffy Taffies. Now, I don't know if there's a manager around or a number I should call, but I got a few complaints. 1. Did you ever consider slowing it down? Cool your jets, Turbo. These are leg bones, not bamboo shoots. You pulled my hamstrings tight like you were making a crossbow. Now I can't touch my toes. 2. I got stretch marks all down my thighs because my own skin couldn't keep up. That one's not a joke. That's my life. And 3. Just the legs, huh? Didn't think maybe you should spread the tallness around a bit? What was your thought process? Did you see a Tim Burton film and think of a cool prank? Real mature, puberty. So anyway, I'm super fast. In high school, that became part of my identity. But that's a double-edged sword. For one thing, being appreciated for something that's part of who you are gives you a sense of fulfillment. But when something threatens what you've tangled your identity with, that makes it feel personal, even when it's not. So I identified as a runner, and naturally read a few books about it. In particular, one about running barefoot. It said that millions of years of evolution made the human foot good enough on its own. Wearing shoes was like walking around in a cast. Your muscles will atrophy. Running barefoot supposedly strengthens muscles you didn't even know you had. I was sold. Around that time, I had also been playing a parkour game called Mirror's Edge. The main character wore red split-toe climbing shoes that I thought looked cool. It was a perfect storm that swept me up into the worst fashion choice anyone has ever made. I bought toe shoes. They make it feel like you're running barefoot with none of the tetanus. Of course, I knew they would turn some heads, but I figured if people were gonna stare anyway, I might as well go all in. I shouldn't be afraid to try something new, so I let Mirror's Edge be my guide. I took a stand. I was brave, and I ordered the brightest red toe shoes I could find. God bless America. Soon after, track practice was set to begin. I showed up the first day proudly wearing my spicy new foot gloves. Surely my fellow runners would know all about the latest trend sweeping our nation. The coach singled me out. "Tim Tom, you need running shoes." "Well, these are my running shoes." "Nope, go change." I was devastated. I had really gone out on a limb to try something new, and being instantly rejected sucked. I had tangled my identity in this without even realizing it, so even though only the shoes were the problem, it felt like I was. But I'm a trooper, you know? I went back to that locker room, changed my shoes, and quit forever. These days, I've given up on fashion. After I started making cartoons, I just bought a bunch of green shirts and called it a day. Now, I am a cartoon. So consider subscribing. Feed me.